All right, one more quick thought regarding what they call different theories of interpretation of the Constitution. So when you emphasize, if you're chatting with AI, for example, which I will do, and then I'll ask them where the source document is. But you guys have to remember, I use AI a bit as bouncing ideas off of them, finding what it says, and then looking things up more for myself when I read the Constitution itself regularly. So please do not lump me in with somebody who's reliant on AI, because I can just battle it out with you all day long regarding the exact text of the Constitution. So I point out to AI just now, and I've done this lots of times as I'm battling out different ideas. I say, the 10th Amendment says all powers granted to the federal government are delegated powers, right? So Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, for example, says that if a state's being invaded and the federal government's not getting under control, the state can basically take care of dealing with that invasion. Of course, we've got the case of the federal government versus Texas on that right now. That's the plain text, though, and this is not a plenary permanent power granted to the federal government, because you have to look at the lasting time. But what came last? The 10th Amendment as a rule of construction of what the Constitution says, right? And it says plainly that the powers granted in the Constitution are delegated powers. That's all it says. That's not a theory. I don't have to theorize whether or not they're delegated powers or permanent powers. It's right there. I can read it in the Constitution. Okay, so this is what I told AI. I'm like, look, my wife is standing next to a tape measure up on the wall, and the tape measure shows that she is 5'3" as she stands next to it, right? And so I say, I have a theory that my wife is 5'3". How stupid do I sound at that moment? Okay, it just sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay, let's be honest. So these theories, as they call them, when you point out the plain facts of the text of the Constitution, don't get sucked into that, dudes. Learn to read the Constitution, right? Okay, here's one that bugs people. People want to say it's the exclusive power of the federal government to declare war. Fantastic, great. I mean, of the Congress to declare war. They changed the verb in the Philadelphia Convention. They changed the verb from declare to from make to declare, because they didn't want to completely take that away from the president, right? The ability to deal with issues and threats and what have you. And so you can say it all day long that it's their exclusive power to declare, but declare isn't the only way that war can be made in the first place, right? And to top it off, we can look at Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15, where they have the power to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Republic, right? So does that mean that the federal government, that the Congress itself suddenly has the exclusive power to enforce the laws of the Republic, right? I don't think so, right? Not even kind of. Just because Congress has been granted a power does not mean it's exclusive, especially when you consider the fact that in certain portions of the Constitution, it clarifies they shall have the sole power of impeachment. They shall have the sole power of this, exclusively here, exclusively there, right? To plant exclusively where it isn't is dishonest, right? And to plant conditions where conditions aren't, and they are in other parts, is also dishonest. And to say that where there's plain wording of the Constitution that it's only a theory, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm cracking this. Again, imagine my wife standing in front of a thing that's clearly got the height of everything, and it says she's 5'3", and I say I have a theory that she's 5'3". Come on, dudes. How dumb does that feel, right? I don't have a theory that the powers granted to the federal government are delegated powers only. It's literally what the Constitution says, okay? So, and yeah, that's my little thought. Don't be sucked into this whole theory thing, you guys. Facts are facts. Frederick Douglass said that the Constitution is a glorious liberty document when you read it, when you read what the text actually says. That not a single aspect of it endorsed slavery, for example. It didn't. And servitude, owed servitude, yes, this is a very ancient concept. It's been around forever. I mean, read the Book of Mormon, you guys. When the Nephites captured the Lamanites, instead of putting them in prisons, they forced them into servitude, right? Until they're able to get the war under control. That is all that the Constitution really provides for it, if you look at it, which is a legitimate function of government. It's been around forever. And so, anyhow, it's not a theory that the Constitution doesn't come right out and endorse slavery. It's a fact. It literally does not come out and endorse slavery, you guys. So when somebody starts giving you these theories and stuff like that, Just say, nah, dude, you know what? I read the Constitution like all the time. I'm not theorizing about anything. I'm telling you what it says. All right? Learn to connect the dots. Learn to connect the dots. Read the Constitution like it's scriptures, like when you're on your mission and you're cross-referencing and you're writing into the side of your, scriptures. Okay, it says this here, it says this here. Let's remember that thought and connect that thought and everything. Learn to do that, and your confidence will stand strong in the face of theories. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you.